Like a Code 5 emergency virgin clinger, we're back for round 2.
Or as Boris calls it, our Wednesday night.
This week we've had the Tory party conference, some Boris Johnson groping, some Donald Trump leg patting, and a whole bunch of fucked up language.
So prepare yourself for some more terrible politics in this week's Weekly Roundup. Yeah.
Now, Pud, we need our super serious faces on right now.
This week started with a discussion regarding the current language being used, both in Parliament and the situation regarding the Brexit negotiations.
Phrases such as the Surrender Act and a dead Parliament went down faster than a $10 whore. No laughing, mate, no laughing.
Boris Johnson even used the late Joe Cox's name to reinforce his opinion of the need to leave the European Union by October 31st.
Many opposition MPs stated they'd received death threats with a similar language used by the Prime Minister and that this tone needed to stop.
Then on Monday, a banner was strung up on a bridge in Manchester where the Tory party conference was being held, saying 130,000 dead under Tory rule, time to even the numbers. It also featured 2 hanging bodies.
And finally, to top it off, Nigel Farage has been investigated by police for his comments, take a knife to pen pushers.
Well, you're somewhat of an orator, mate. What do you think?
I just think this bunch of fucking overpaid, self-entitled, egotistical maniacs need to calm the fuck down.
Well, there we have it.
Just keep calm and suck a dick. It's still conference season, and this week the Tories were up.
Again, we had some obligatory boring speeches. Matt Hancock suggesting that forced vaccinations are a good idea. And bizarrely, a standing ovation for the 1820s, otherwise known as Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Or as I call him, the demon headmaster of a CBBC.
A couple of notable pledges, including the promise to build 40 new hospitals and raise the living wage to £10.50 by 2024.
Which all sounds very good on paper until you realise there's only funding for 6 of the 40 hospitals and the minimum wage only goes up by 10p a year. Where's that magic money tree when we all need it?
Apparently, in a lifetime you make 4,300 mistakes. Well, Boris has decided to get all this out in 2 weeks.
Last week he was tied up with the scandal with Jennifer Zakari. This week he's been accused by a journalist by the name of Charlotte Edwards of groping her thigh during a political dinner around 20 years ago.
Boris was also asked during an interview with the BBC journalist Laura Kuenssberg how he thought his tenure was going so far.
Laura Kuenssberg asked the Prime Minister, in the last few weeks, you've lost major votes in the Commons, you've chucked some MPs out of your own party, the highest court in the land has found you broke the law and gave wrong advice to the Queen. How do you think it's going?
The Prime Minister replied, well, I think that's going about as well as it could be, especially if not slightly better.
Laura Kuenssberg just replied with the word really. Finally came his party conference speech. He came out to a great reception, the cabinet all lined up, ready to politically and metaphorically suck him off. Then shit hit the fan.
In a failed attempt to adhere to Queen's rules, Boris Johnson dropped the nut on Andrea Leadsom, as if things couldn't have got worse for her, especially after the latest cabinet reshuffle.
Sajid Javid went for an awkward high five and missed.
Boris went for an awkward kiss with the waiting Priti Patel. Will he ever learn?
The part alpaca, part thesaurus did give an entertaining speech and mixed up the whiffles, waffles and whiff-waffs and instead gave us pizza boxes of doom and kangaroo testicles.
On paper, Boris has had a terrible first 70 days in office, and although his personal opinion polls have slipped, they are still way above Jeremy the Cunt Corbyn and other leaders.
He's basically the dirt that Sillet can't bang. In other news, Southeast Asia's decided it spent too long out of the headlines and decided to get back in the action this week. And boy did it.
There was a Mexican wave of erection on the Labour Party front bench as Corbyn and McDonnell were caught self-regulating to celebrate 70 years of communism in China.
The Chinese chose to celebrate in a much more moderate affair with a small military parade, which included 15,000 troops, 160 aircraft, their DF-41 mobile intercontinental ballistic missiles, and oh yeah, let's not forget, they decided to shoot some protesters in the face. North Korea were next up in the Asian top trump contest.
Kim Jong-un has authorised projectiles to be launched into Japanese economic waters. Probably just another uncle being executed. And it's time for this week's Terrible Politics Political Cunt of the Week.
It's been a hotly contested contest this week. We had Michael Fabricant getting attacked by a dog. We had Desmond Sweeney, who wanted to black himself up, but the prize goes to...
No, it's not Nicola Sturgeon.
It's Donald Trump.
Where do we start with Donald Trump?
Well, impeachment seems like a good a place as any, doesn't it? Impeachment in US politics is the process by which the House of Representatives, or the lower house, can bring charges against a civil officer of the government for crimes present or past. On September the 24th, 2019, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi announced that 6 committees would undertake formal impeachment inquiries after reports that Donald Trump and his associates had pressured Ukraine with relation to their dealings with Joe Biden and his son Hunter.
Trump responded typically by taking to Twitter with an eloquent tweet.
While he was on Twitter, he also decided to both have a go and wish China a happy birthday all at the same time.
It also emerged this week that Trump must like hallucinogenic drugs and concentration camps.
While planning his border wall, he brainstormed the following. He wanted it to be electrified, it needed to have spikes on top, sharp enough to puncture skin, and he also wanted a moat filled with alligators and snakes. So after the poor, starving, struggling, desperate Mexican managed to get through this fortress, he then wanted border crossers to be shot in the leg.
So that's all for this week's Terrible Politics Weekly Roundup.
If you enjoyed the show, give us a like, give us a share and subscribe to our channel
And we'll see you next week.
for some more terrible politics.